Good afternoon, friends of Numi Nation. Thanks for tuning in. It is episode 18. It's the end of another fantastic day at newminds.tv. I hope your day was fantastic too. Was it full of challenges, obstacles, emotional, psychological, logistical? I'm sure. I'm sure it was. I don't know how a given day in the circumstances we're in right now could not be full of opportunities, aka challenges, to kind of work on different aspects of ourselves. And no different from me today, had my share of challenges. And in fact, I just got off the 4 o'clock vault session for New Minds TV, which was full of its own challenges. Humbling experience. So we had Mr. T on as a guest. He's a classic New Minds inspirator. He was my special guest today, along with Mr. Justin and a group of kiddos over at his place. And we had a great lesson plan with a challenge, and the tech went haywire. Mr. T's camera went out. We couldn't flip it, couldn't get it back on, couldn't get focused. So hey, it's all in a day these days. And so the important thing was we salvaged what we could, and we delivered a little snippet of a cool lesson that someone could find as a gem and get something really rich and special out of. So here we are at the end of day 18. I've got my pug Romeo, scratching around on the floor at my feet. You met him back in episode 2 or 3. I don't remember which day that when we introduced our pets, most of us on New Minds TV. So just one of those, we're kind of like settling in. I don't mean at New Minds TV. I mean as a world, as a nation, as a world, we're kind of settling in to this new situation, and new norms are developing, and it's time to kind of really, really take a deep look at, is this an opportunity to develop some brand new habits and skills? Being very mindful of the emotional toll and the stress that we're all under. And I've seen some threads on social media about feeling a little bit pressured, the productivity pressure. And yeah, I think you have to balance it. On the one hand, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. First, make sure you're taken care of. Make sure you're feeling psychologically safe. Your family's okay. Physical safety, emotional well-being, and everything. But when you get to a point that you can kind of see the situation as an opportunity to do some kind of development in some sphere, that's when you can start thinking about the productivity aspect. Hey, Mr. Adam has bumped on. Good to see you here at the end of day, Adam. I love it when you join and are able to kind of chime in and listen in. So today what we're going to do, so last week was Homeschool Hacks Week. On Monday of this week, we brought in Miss Kathy Cordero for a fantastic interview. So that would be episode 16 on Monday. Wow, I really recommend it. I interviewed her. She brought so much wisdom to the table for families, working with their kiddos at home in all senses, emotionally, academically, all the things, right? And so this week we're kind of like, I'm always trying to be very sensitive to feedback about what seems relevant in the moment. And so today what I did was I'm going to talk just a little bit about a tool that we use at New Minds all the time. And we actually work it into our teacher trainings, both internally and externally. And it's a tool called the 6 Thinking Hats. And why is this useful and especially relevant right now? Okay, well, the 6 Thinking Hats is originally designed as a creativity booster, right? Almost like a tool in your creativity toolbox to boost creativity, but that's just level 1. So I'm going to talk about the inventor of it in just a second. But basically, the reason I bring it up here is because it's something that you can implement among groups of people to facilitate communication, effective communication. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more. It's the 6 Thinking Hats. Miss Sandra has just joined the stream, affectionately known as Miss Coombies. That's what we call her. So good to see you on, Miss Coomby, and I hope you can be a regular and share the New Minds TV magic. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, let me get the right thing up here. There we go. Okay. All the new software, all the new things. What an exciting opportunity, right? Okay, so Edward de Bono is a very prolific researcher, thinker, inventor, author in the realm of creativity. He calls it lateral thinking. Okay. And so what he does is develop these different methods and methodologies and techniques that it's interesting. It really started with him going into like more corporate environments. Like he would go into a boardroom with the CEO and the board of directors and train them in these techniques to have creative breakthroughs, right? But what happened was these types of thinking and methodologies started to kind of trickle, I hate to say trickle down, but really in some respects that's what it did, trickle down and make it kind of into the educational sphere. That's where I first encountered it. I was doing some graduate work in education, taking a class on creativity and how to nurture creativity and the theories of creativity, and that's when I first discovered this. And from since then, it's been an absolute gem. I used it. I was still back in the classroom back then, and I used it with kiddos. And my co-founder and I, Mr. Justin, were both familiar with this method. So when we started New Minds, we started implementing it as a communication tool, as a lateral thinking tool within the company. So here, let me talk a little bit. So it's called the 6 hats because here's what de Bono says is, okay, you have to be able to see any given situation from several different filters, from different angles, right? And in order to facilitate this, I've developed this system called the 6 thinking hats, where each hat represents a different way of looking at a situation or an object or a problem, whatever it might be. But here's how it works. Everyone involved, everyone in the conversation has to have the same hat on at the same time. So don't mistake this for like a personality quiz. It's not a personality quiz. Don't mistake this as some kind of parlor game where everyone will have a different colored hat on and they'll be describing the object. It really works best when everyone can kind of place that same metaphorical hat on at the same time and then look at the situation. Okay? So each of the 6 hats brings a special perspective to what you're looking at. And then as you cycle through them as a team, you broaden and you deepen the understanding of the situation. That's where some of the magic happens. That's where you find solutions, creative solutions to a particular problem. Okay? Let's talk about each hat. I don't want to go too deep. There's a link in the comments. I see it's already up. Thank you, team. And I went ahead and gave you the full, I think it's like 6, 7, 8 pages because it goes hat by hat. I know you're overwhelmed now. There's so much info you're taking in, but this is one really to either like download and save on your drive somewhere or print off and file. And even if you aren't able to attack it right away, this is a really valuable thing for you and for your family because it really works best when it's kind of like part of the parlance of a group of people like you and your family. So let's talk about what each hat represents really quick, okay? So, all right, we got the white hat. So when you have the white hat on, you're looking at the world, you're looking at the situation just from a purely black and white point of view, kind of like just the facts. Just the facts. When I was a kid, the show Dragnet was already like in deep reruns, so don't think that I'm like 70 years old or something. But my dad watched this show called Dragnet, these detectives, and there was this phrase where the guy would say, "Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts," right? That's what I always think of when I come to the white hat. It's when you have the white hat on, you keep it not complicated at all. You really simplify things. You just list out the facts that you know about the situation. So I'm going to just keep it really real. And as we go through each hat, I'm going to just use examples from the world that we're in right now, which is, okay, you find yourself suddenly quarantining. I'm borrowing that term. That's been floating around New Minds TV the last few days. So you finally find yourself quarantining, involuntarily homeschooling. What are the facts? Okay, so this is the point where you emotions out temporarily, worries away temporarily. You just list out what you know. Okay, my child is responsible for the following online courses. These are the deadlines. This is when we have to submit this thing. These are the situations. This is where we're allowed to go or we're not allowed to go. That kind of thing, right? You're just listing the facts of the situation. It's almost like you get it all out there in front of you. When I do this with kids, which I have done this with kindergartners all the way through like adults. When I do this with kids, I tell them, okay, think of it as, this is like a blank white sheet of paper. You're going to just fill it with the facts, black and white, right? So that's the white hat, okay? Let's keep exploring. Now the yellow hat. Okay, so the yellow hat is the optimist. What I tell kids is the yellow hat is like the sun, right? When the sun shines, it's totally equanimity. It shows great equanimity for everything on the planet, right? It just reaches everything equally. It doesn't discriminate. It shines its brightness on all. Well, when you have the yellow hat on, you shine brightness and positivity into whatever the situation is. So you can see the prompt questions here. Like, what are the benefits? How is the situation preferable? What are the positive assets of the situation? How can we make this work? Like, the ultimate optimist is who you are when you have the yellow hat on, okay? So, all right. So, I've been trying to have this hat on almost every day for end of the day, if you haven't noticed yet. So what I'm trying to do is take this situation that you're in and see, wow, what an opportunity to get deep knowledge of your kids. What an opportunity to guide and nurture their innate passions that you wouldn't have had time to do, in traditional setting where you only saw them a couple hours a day. What an opportunity. So that's kind of the phrase that I like to use with the yellow hat on is start. It's almost like a stem, right? What an opportunity to, and then fill in the blank, whatever the situation, right? That's the yellow hat, right? And so when you started to cycle through the hats, you're seeing the situation from all the angles, and let's face it, there are negative angles as well, and that's where the black hat comes in. With the black hat on, what you have the opportunity to do is be a pessimist. Like, what could go wrong? How could this situation be a disaster? What are the problems I should watch out for? But here's the catch. This is important, right? We're going to get to the red hat in a minute, and with the red hat on, you can express emotions and you don't have to justify. But with the black hat on, you can't just be a negative Nelly. Is that the phrase? Negative Nancy, negative Nelly? Maybe I shouldn't discriminate against Nancy's or Nellies, but you get the picture. It's not an excuse to be just kind of like a party pooper and be negative about everything. What you're doing with the black hat on is you're being a little bit analytical about it, and you're kind of justifying why you're seeing problems. So with the black hat on, you're like, wow, okay, so with this homeschooling thing going on, like, I'm working from home, my spouse is working from home, I've got 2 kids, time management's going to be an issue. We're running out of food and supplies. This could be a major issue. I don't have all the materials that I need to complete this coursework that the teachers. My Wi-Fi could be a major issue if that's a real one, right? The Wi-Fi and the bandwidth usage in my house with everyone online doing everything online could be a major issue. I may miss a deadline at work, right? That kind of things. You see the trail? So it's an opportunity to get all that out. And when you do this with a group, you get the benefit of the crowdsource. With all the hats on, you're getting the benefit of the crowdsource. You might see 40% of the situation. You might see 70% of the situation. It doesn't matter. But when you're crowdsourcing, you get a more complete picture, right? It's like the old fable about the 6 blind. I don't think it's 6 blind men, but I'll use 6 because it works perfectly here with this metaphor. It's like the old fable with the blind men finding an elephant, and you ask each of them, what's an elephant? What's an elephant shaped like? What's it feel like? How big is it? And one's got the trunk, one's got the tail, one's got a leg, right? One's holding the tusk, and they're all describing the elephant from what they can perceive. This is similar with the hats. When you're crowdsourcing in this way, you get kind of a more complete picture going hat by hat. Okay, so I talked about the red hat. The red hat's important because it's kind of like the purge. When I do this, when I run this with groups or with kids, to be honest with you, I usually do the red hat either first or second because you're talking about these emotions. And when you kind of clear the air and let people just express their gut reaction to the situation, it opens up space for the further hats and the further conversations. So that's why I like to have the red hat early. So with the red hat early, you just react, right? You just react. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel happy. It's okay to feel worried. It's okay to feel excited. Like, everything is fair game. You don't really have to justify it. You're just kind of expressing your gut, your intuition. And so in this case, I know, to bring it back to this situation, there are a lot of emotions out there, right? There's a lot of worry and anxiety, um, for very real reasons. And so it's good to express those, right? So when you have the red hat on, everyone has an opportunity in kind of a round robin fashion to just like explain, not explain actually, just express what they're feeling at the emotional level, okay? Um, all right. Got some friends on. We got Jesus, we got Father, we got Janet, we got Miss Shay. I don't know, Miss Goomby's still on. Hopefully she's still on. Okay, the green hat. So we have to admit that at New Minds, we love the green hat. The green hat is the creativity hat. So when the group has the green hat on, it's like freedom to do free-form brainstorming, creation, thinking, thinking outside the box, putting like wild-haired solutions out there. And because when you have the green hat on and you signal that you have the green hat on, you're kind of telling the rest of the group like, hey, don't shoot down my ideas. I realize some of the things I'm about to say might sound crazy, might sound wacky, but I have the green hat on, so it's like I'm giving the group permission to just let those wacky things sit for a while, because you don't know how many beautiful things come from a brainstorm where everyone has the permission to have the green hat on. So alternatives, hypotheses, interesting proposals, brand new approaches, that's all part of the package with the green hat. And one more hat that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how we use it from a practical level, okay? So the blue hat, it's a little bit different. The blue hat's kind of like the manager. So when you have the blue hat on, that's when you kind of like make decisions as a team based on what's come up with the other hats on. So not always, but usually I kind of think of the blue hat as the final hat, as the culmination of the project. But you can kind of put the hats on and off too. So you could start with the blue hat on, and as a team decide how you want to manage the process, and even decide like the order of the hats that you're going to do. Or you can end with the blue hat and use it as kind of like the group executive, where you're kind of making decisions. Okay, so all right, so how is this relevant? I told you it was a good communication tool. It was kind of like a lateral thinking, creative thinking, of course. You can kind of probably see where that comes from, but how is this a good communication tool for families? Why did I bring this up in the middle of all this? Like, man, Mr. Ben, come on, man. I like some of your stuff, but this is just creative fluff. I just need to survive right now, right? You know, I got 18 assignments due from my 3 kids. I've got 12 Zoom or WebEx meetings a day. Come on with the fluff. This, my friends, is not fluff. This is actually a fantastic and effective tool for communication. Let me explain. So when this becomes part of the language of a group of people, like it is at New Minds, or like within a family, what you have the opportunity to do is create a buffer zone for communication. Example, let's say it's 2014, 2015, Mr. Justin and I are trying to plan a brand new Minds program, like a summer camp, right? Or something wild and wacky, like a brand new one-day program. And, one of us goes off on a run through the woods, probably a true story, and comes back with a really wild idea, and we want to pitch it, okay? So one of us pitches the idea to the other, and we want a way to communicate about that, to remove anything personal. We want it to be effective and useful feedback and constructive, and we want to be able to communicate to the other what angle we're looking at their idea from, okay? So this happened a lot. We would debrief each other and give feedback using the hat systems. And we would literally go hat by hat. And I would say, for example, okay, Justin, red hat, I don't know about this. I'm a little worried about how parents will react, blah, 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 right? White hat, okay, good point. This is how much we charged for the last event. This is, how many kids we got there, white cat. And kind of just go hat by hat. And it becomes sort of this like magical tool that creates consensus and perspective. And it's a safe way to give feedback that forces you to look at and provide both sides of the coin and give both opinions. Example, even if my initial reaction to an idea is negative, when I get to the yellow hat, I have to find the positives, right? If I'm gung-ho for an idea, I'm still forced to put that black hat on and find the potential negatives. So not only is it a communication tool, like I mentioned, not only is it a cool tool for creative thinking divergent thinking, but it's also kind of an awareness expander because it forces you to expand your perspective and horizon on a particular issue. Okay? Yeah, so Mr. T says, behind the New Minds curtain. Very true. And I can't tell you how often, Mr. Justin and I in particular use this as a communication tool early on. And don't think that this is some super complex, high level thing that requires years of practice. I did this with kindergartners, and when I did this with the youngest, I would introduce, one hat at a time, and we would practice, and the kids would learn how to use phrases like, my white hat says, or my yellow hat says, or I have the yellow hat on, or whatever. And you kind of introduce the hats one by one gradually, and they become part of the vocabulary of the classroom. And let's groups of people communicate kind of in a safe way with a buffer zone where it's not personal, but you're allowed to go deep in your feedback and in your expression. Okay? And that's exactly why I brought it to the table today. No pun intended, but what I've thought of was like families at the table, families literally at the dinner table, or maybe not dinner table, maybe it's now the homework table or the home office table, and just one more way to maybe communicate. That's really the primary reason why I brought it up today. And increasing lateral thinking and creativity and other things are just kind of perks at this point. But that's really why I wanted to bring it out. Was, wow, what if we could give families like another way to share perspective about a situation, another way to like process a difficult situation. That everything does not have a single perspective. And even this, you can go big picture and get philosophical and use this to process the COVID crisis as a whole. I think it'd be really valuable for that. Or you can use it on the micro. You can look at an individual assignment that your child has and use this to kind of process it in different ways. Like, it's a really versatile tool. So you could look in the comments, you've got a link to this handout. I gave you the big one. There's like a one-page version, but I thought, you know what? Let's give them the full version since I'm not able to give you a full training. I just gave you like a 20-minute rundown. I thought, let's just give them the full handout. You can see the source there. Like, New Minds did not create this handout, for the record, but you have the source there, proper attribution. And I like this handout because it goes hat by hat and kind of gives you examples, okay? And this one is kind of structured more kind of like corporate, like the proposal. I see flaws in the proposal. That's fine too. By all means, use it at work. But my purpose for bringing it on the table today was to kind of give you another tool as a family for communication, for processing and perspective, okay? So let me, before I wrap, let me come back to the full view. I never like to end with the screen view. Okay, there we go. So thanks for tuning in again. Episode 18. We had lots of friends on live this afternoon. That's fantastic. If you're watching the recording, you'll have that link to the resource. Go find it and check it out. Always reach out to us if you want more info on a topic or if you think it's valuable. All these things that we present, almost all of them we have full workshops on. So that's always something that we can chat about. So until then, keep it real, keep it inspired. Stay tuned into New Minds TV. It's live, as you know, but it's also on demand. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube. We're going to get more and more involved on YouTube, by the way. So you'll be able to go over to YouTube and search up New Minds TV with whatever tag you're looking for, if you're looking for specific topics, and find some good video resources over there. Okay, folks, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow for episode 19, a fresh day, a fresh perspective. Have a great night.